in the last lesson, we dealt with sinusoidal functions, and you were given the equation, usually a sine graph, although it could be cosine, and you had to draw the graph. In this lesson, the procedure is reversed, and you will be given sinusoidal data in the form of a graph, and you'll be asked to write the equation. Okay, and we'll be looking to write the equation either like this or like this. Okay, and remember a couple of the parameters. What was A, what was B, what was C, what was D? What did those do? Okay, I just want to go over this a little bit. You need to be very familiar with the graph of the basic sinusoidal function. Okay, whether it's sine or cosine, cosine looks more like this. You need to know it really well to do these questions. Okay, you know, I'm looking at this graph, and we can always find this information by graphing using the calculator, but I would really like you to be comfortable just looking at the sine graph and knowing a few things. Okay, you should know that the basic sine graph goes from 1 to -1. Okay, you should know these these 5 basic locations. Okay, now in this case, this is 2 pi. So this is pi. This one is pi over 2. This one is 3 pi over 2. If you change those to numbers, this is about 1.57. Okay, this one is about 4.7 or something like that. We also know it in degrees. Okay, if this was degrees, we would have 90 here, we would have 180 here, we would have 270 here, and 360 here. Now I know those. I've done this enough times that I've memorized those really well, and I know that it's going to be a little bit foggier for you and a little bit more unclear. But the better you can know the basic graph, the easier these questions will be. Notice also that this is the sine graph. Remember, I told you I would expect you to write out the equation like this. Okay, that was right up here. Okay, and if you look at this, A is 1, B is right in here, is 1, C is 0, D is 0. Okay, you should know that. You should know that. So, keep in mind, in a sinusoidal graph, it passes through the origin on its way to a maximum. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. This is the maximum. It has a period of 2 pi, has a median line or the x-axis. This could also have a maximum at 90 degrees, has a period of 360. Okay, that means the same thing. All right, when analyzing the graph of a sinusoidal function, you should first determine the values of the parameters. Okay, so if you're going to look at a graph, you're going to try to figure out what is A, what is B, what is C, what is D. Okay, and I have some tricks for you here. You can write those down. I don't actually use those formulas or whatever you want to call them. I use more like try to use common sense just by looking at it. Okay, so let's take a look at an example here. To me, this is super confusing when I look at this. Okay, so I'm going to just skip over this for now. Instead, I want you to look at the graph just by analyzing it. Okay, so let's try a question. Okay, remember what we need to do is we need to find out what is A, what is B, what is C, and what is D. Okay, and to do that, we need to remember what each of those things are. Okay, D is how much the graph is moved up or down. And I always look at D to figure out the middle of the graph, that line we draw right through the middle. Well, how do you know where this middle line is? Right? I can see it looks like it's about there. But to do that, I should look at the maximum and the minimum. This graph goes from -2 up to 4. This is a space of 6. Okay? And if I know that's a space of 6, half of that is 3. In other words, I'm going to go up 3 units or down 3 units from there. And that should give me, this middle line is 1. Y equals 1. D is 1. All right, that's how I do that. You just look at the graph, take a look at what is the middle, try to figure that out. Now, if you really wanted to, you could kind of, there is a formula up here. If you want to figure out the vertical shift, it says just take the maximum plus the minimum and divide by 2. Okay, if you look at that, the maximum is 4, the minimum is -2. You could say, what is 4 plus -2 divided by 2? Okay, so that would give you 1. And that works as well. But again, I don't like formulas, because then what if I use the wrong formula? What if I forget the formula? What if I'm not sure when to use it? All right, I'd like you to get used to just examining the graph. Okay. Well, we've already figured out that A is 3. How did I figure that out? Well, you can see that if this is the midline, we're going up 3, we're going down 3. Okay? So we're half done. That's A and D. Now B is the only one that I use the formula for. Okay? So what do we have for the formula for B? It says to find well, that's actually backwards. If I want, this is what we did yesterday. The period is 2 pi divided by b. If I want to know what b is, I go 2 pi divided by the period. Okay? So let's try that. What is the period of this graph? Well, you can see this is 6 point something. This is supposed to be 6.28, or better yet, is 2 pi. Okay, so how do we get b? We're supposed to go 2 pi divided by the period. In this case, the period is 2 pi. So we get b is 1. Okay, and c is how much it's moved left or right. Now here's why you need to know the basic sine graph. Look where the basic sine graph starts. It starts at 0, 0. And it starts by going up. Okay? This is what we have to look for on this graph. Okay, where is it on the midline going up? Well, you can see this is not moved left or right. This graph is the same place a normal graph would be. C has not gone anywhere. Okay, so now that I have A, B, C, D, I'm going to write my equation. Y equals 3. That's my A value. Sine. My B value is 1. Now you don't have to put in 1. Okay, but I'm going to. X minus 0. Okay, you don't have to put in 0 either. All right, there's my graph, A, B, C, D. Now, if I were to simplify this, if you saw it on an answer key, it would look like this. Okay? All right, there's our first chance. Why don't you try this one? Pause it for a second. See if you can figure out what is A, what is B, what is C, and what is D. Okay, pause the video. Come back when you're done. All right, this graph goes from 0 down to, this is -2. And look at that, the midline is actually already drawn in for you. Okay, so D is -1. So now how far have we gone up and how far have we gone down? Just 1 unit. Okay. What else do we need to know? Well, we need to know what the period is. Okay, the period is how long does it take to make one sort of pattern or one period. Okay, Well, here's what I'm going to do. I always like looking at the midline and finding where does this graph cross the midline going up. If I go to where the graph is at the midline going up again, this tells me what the period is. How far is that? Well, it's from here to here. This is my period. Looks a little hard to tell, right? Because there's no values there. So maybe that's not the best place to go. Well, maybe it is the best place to go. I don't know. It depends how you look at it. If this is 0.5 pi, this is 0.5 pi, what do you think this is? This is 0.25 pi. Okay, because you can see that these increments go up by the same amount. Okay, and then what would this be? This is 2 pi. This looks like 2.25 pi. Okay, so 0.25 pi to 2.25 pi, this is 2 pi. Okay? So b, I go 2 pi divided by what the period is. B is 1. Okay? If you're not sure what I did there, how do you find b? Yeah, my pen's not working. B is always going to be 2 pi divided by the period. So 2 pi, and the period in this case is 2 pi, so I get 1. All right. And then C. Well, this is why I like looking at the midline going up here, why I like looking at this point. Because now I need to see how far has this moved over here. All right, and I see that it's 0.25 pi. Okay, so if I want to write the equation, it's y equals 1 sine 0.25 pi. Oops, sorry, that's not right. I want to put the b value there. B is 1 x minus 0.25 pi minus 1. Now, just a quick comment. Notice that it's minus. The equation, the formula, has a minus here. So even though this is positive, we put that right in there. And this tells me that I'm moving to the right. Okay? Now we've got a few more here. Okay, take a break, pause the video, and see if you can do these on your own. All right, there's that one. Okay. So, this is -1, and this is 5, so this is a space of 6. So then we'll divide this, it's going to be 3 and 3, so it looks like D is going to be 2 and A is 3. Okay, so let's draw that midline in. and we're looking for where it crosses the midline. This is my period. From pi all the way to 5 pi. So this is a period of 4 pi. So I go 2 pi divided by 4 pi is 0.5. Okay, and then when I look at C, remember that I'm looking for where has this graph started going up. Well, here it's starting going up. How far has it moved? This has moved exactly pi. Okay, so y is 3 sine 0.5 x minus pi sorry, pen's not working. Plus 2. Okay. Example 5 says, here is a function, and it's from 0, this means 0 to 360. I'm just doing one period, I guess, original period. Describe the graph of the function by stating the amplitude, the equation of the midline, the range, and period, as well as relevant horizontal translation. Okay, so they're saying, give me A, give me B, C, and D, right? What is the amplitude? Amplitude is 2, right? Because this is my A value. Then it says the equation of the midline. The equation of the midline is D. D is 1. So the equation of the midline is y equals 1. So let's write here, amplitude is 2. Okay, what is the range? Well, we'll get to that in a second. The period. Remember the period, we go 2 pi divided by b. b is 4. So this is going to be, if you want to put this in your calculator, you'll get 1.57. Okay, as well as a relevant horizontal translation. Well, what is the C value? The C value is 0. Okay, so the only thing we're left with is the range. Well, we could do a sketch of this, okay, but maybe it would be easier to use the calculator here. Let's just try and use the calculator for a second. Okay, so I'm going to go y equals 2 cos 4x close brackets plus 1. And now notice that it's giving us this question. Oh shoot, I made a mistake. I made a mistake here. Let's just go back here for a second. I forgot about this. It says 0 to 360. That means we don't go 2 pi. Okay, remember that 2 pi is the same as 360 in degrees. So I should go 360 divided by 4. Okay, so then now I get 90 degrees. So my new period is 90 degrees. Okay, so now that's what I wanted to highlight to you. We're in degrees, so make sure that you're in mode, in degree mode. Okay, so let's go zoom 7. So here's our graph. And we're supposed to graph from 0 to 360. This graph looks something like this. But we need to be a little bit more specific than that. Okay, so let's figure out a few things here. Okay, first of all, we should figure out what is the y-intercept. So let's go to second calc, and we'll go 0. When x is 0, we get y is 3. Okay, so we know that we're starting off at 3. Now this should make sense, right? We know that y equals 1 is the midline. And we know that the amplitude is 2. So it's going to go up 2 and down 2. Okay, so here's -1. This is +1. So this graph is going to go like this. We need a little bit more than that. Okay, what else do we need? Well, we know that one period is 90 degrees. So it's going to go back to that peak after 90 degrees. So it should go down and back up again by the time it gets to 90. And then it's going to do that every 90. Okay, so it should look like that. Goes down to -1 here, up to 3 there. Okay. All right. Let's try this one. Consider the function, describe the graph of the function by stating the amplitude. Okay. Amplitude. What is the amplitude? It's 3. That's the a value. Okay, what's the equation of the midline? Y equals, well, the d value is 0. So that's the equation of the midline. What's the range? Well, this is enough to figure out the range right here. If we know the midline is at y equals 0, and we know that we're going up 3 and down 3, we know that the range is from -3 to 3. Okay. The period. The period, okay, I know that I'm in degrees here, so I'm going to go 360 divided by b. b is 2. So the period is 180. And the relevant horizontal translation, this moves right 45 degrees. Okay. So we could quickly sketch this. We know that it's right 45 degrees, so it's going to start here, right? It's moved this far, 45 degrees. And it's going to go a period of 180. So 180 from here is going to be till 225. Okay, so there's 45, there's 225. And I know it's supposed to make one full period in that time. Okay, so this is -3, and this is +3. Okay. How would the graph of the cosine be the same? How would it be different? Well, the easiest way to do that would be to actually graph this and see how it matches up. I don't need you to do that right now. Okay, so we're going to skip number C. All right, match each graph with a corresponding equation below. Okay. So let's look at the amplitude first and see if that'll help us at all. This one goes from -3 to 5. So this is a space of 8. means we're going down 4, up 4. So that means this one is out for graph 1. Okay? Now what else? They're all +1. That's good. So they're all still in the running. Okay? But now we need to figure out which one of these is it. Okay, well, let's look at the period first. Okay, let's put the midline in here. The midline is going to be at 1. So let's look from here to here. How far is that? Right, because this is the midline going up. This is, well, this is 45 degrees here. So that's 180 take away 45. This is 135 degrees is the period. Or is it? Not quite. I don't have that quite right. Let's draw that midline in a little bit better. This is not 45. This is 60. So this is 120. Okay, so let's figure out what is B. To figure out B, I take the period, the original 360 period divided by what the actual period is, and I get 3. Okay, so it's going to be one of these two. Okay, because now I have 4 correct, I have this correct, I have this correct. I just have to decide, is this a sine graph or a cos graph? Well, this is a sine graph moving up. So that looks like it fits 3. So graph 1 is 3. Okay, now let's see about the other one. Okay, this one goes from 5 to -3. So again, this one is out. Okay. Now let's look at, okay, we'll draw the midline in here. What is the period from here to here? This is a period of 360. So what is B? If I go 360 divided by 360, I get 1. The B value is 1. That means graph 2 must be the first one. Okay. That's a lot to handle. We'll leave example 8 for now. Take a look at the summary, and I'd like you to do the rest of this assignment. Okay, assignment C. Okay, up till there. Okay, I'm sure you're going to have some questions. We can take those up in class.